What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. In today's video, we're going to dive into XRP, HBAR, and Casper. So first up, we're beginning to see signs of life again in the altcoin market for several assets that have been leaders for quite some time, such as Injective. We can see from its cycle low thus far, it is up over 1100% or over 12.5x. And turning on the Fibonacci pivots, we can see a perfect rejection with weekly candle bodies from the pivot coming back down, reaching the R2 with the double top, and now thus far above the weekly R3. So INJ is definitely getting closer to an all-time high price, and we can see the weekly RSI is an overbought up here as we're getting this run. Is it possible that some alts like Render, Fetch, Injective could be leading other alts and even Bitcoin in this market to some degree, and a lot of alts are still actually down here in accumulation, maybe even waking up, and some of which are here. We can see Render from its cycle low thus far at this wick down here. We can see we are up just over 800% or over 9x from the low, coming up to this previous high. And the weekly RSI is yet to push. We know Fetch is another one that did over 10x from its cycle low thus far. It did in fact reach the weekly R1, and we can see via Fibonacci retracement from swing low, the beginning of the impulse to the very end of this impulse before pullback, and we can see this retraced back to the 786, another wicks, almost a double bottom, and back up to the 382 thus far. And looking at the Bitcoin price chart, the same exact thing on the weekly time frame. We played in this range around the pivot for over 200 days. And I'm a strong believer that the Bitcoin price chart can make its way up to the weekly R1 and R2, so 39k to even 42,000. We know Injective or INJ is already at this weekly R3. For Bitcoin, that would be 59,000. And we'll notice that R3 of 59,000 on the Bitstamp chart is right exactly where this open fair value gap is at 59,000 to 62k. The higher Bitcoin goes and the higher other alts that may even be leading Bitcoin in the 2024, the better. It makes me much more confident in a variety of assets to retrace to much higher retracements as the rest of the market wakes up. Even XRP right here over this 500-day MA, it looks very similar to a lot of different retracement setups that we've seen before drawing much higher impulses. I know I shared a chart of this on Twitter months ago, but it looks very similar. So this was the Ripple vs SEC lawsuit. We crashed well below, but we can see that we established support on the 500-day before drawing those impulses higher. Today's price action is looking really similar. I know we have Ripple swell, and I know people are frustrated with holding XRP. I do expect XRP to climb in the future. So many things are built. The bull run is another day closer, and it is one of the only assets, specifically high caps, with legal clarity is not a security. There are so many different looks on the XRP price chart on higher time frames like the weekly, and I have a lot of trouble not being bullish with this specific setup. We know this setup like Bitcoin crashing, retracing back to 3K, and XRP hitting the exact same fib retracements, and after this level, Bitcoin went into an all-time high price, reaching golden Fibonacci extensions above. XRP is in that same position. Or maybe you're just comparing this long drawn-out structure down here when we were in accumulation before that blast off. There are a lot of similarities, and I do expect a rhyme in the future. HBAR, same thing. We have fair value gaps open above in these purple rectangles that are imbalances that likely get tested when we finally break out of accumulation. There are a lot of levels that HBAR likely reaches in the future during a bull run when volume actually returns. You can see we don't have that crazy buy volume yet that we had in the last cycle. Hedera has billions of dollars already tokenized on chain, and I do believe there's going to be a lot more in the future for total value represented. And same thing for Casper. We don't have the buy volume yet. We know the mint is supposedly starting in the next couple days. We know that Casper Labs' birthday is on Halloween, so I would love to see IPW beginning the patent deployment on Halloween. So Casper's network, the public network, is part of the largest enterprise deployment in history. It is a total of 25 million patent NFTs that are able to be upgraded as well. So it's a total of $7 to $10 billion in aggregate value. And I'm sure you've seen on Twitter they're starting off with the first 1 million patents, a total of 25 million. Casper's never experienced a bull run. Even if you're super conservative, look at the pivot, look at the R levels. We're likely going to go to retracement when the market actually wakes up. We have exchange listings, we have tons of new catalysts, we have the mobile wallet, Casper 2.0, and then IBM and Casper Labs are doing that webinar. I believe it's on November 2nd. We'll talk about that specifically with WatsonX, one of their platforms for AI. And we're talking about Casper just breaking past some previous levels of resistance at the pivot, closing some gaps at 7 cents, 12 cents, all the way up to the R3. The highest open gap is at 43 cents, and just to put into perspective how small the market cap is to some of the assets that have absolutely exploded, if Casper did reach Solana or Cardano's all-time high market cap, we are talking $6 to $8 plus. So with success and a multi-billion-dollar market cap like other assets have already reached, Casper can easily reach $1 in the future. But for now, we have a lot of resistance above that we have to break through. If we can get through this R3, even 24 cent double top up here, then I'll be looking for the chance of an all-time high price. We still have 30 cents, we have the 43 cent gap, and then the weekly candle bodies at 60 cents. And just for some perspective, to compare Casper to what XLM or Stellar did last cycle, and XLM has a significantly larger circulating supply, and it did when it did that 29x from its cycle low. So last cycle, XLM from its cycle low went all the way up and closed perfectly on its previous weekly candle bodies. So XLM did over 2,900%. If Casper did something similar, this would only be about 25, almost 2,600%. And even Algo or Algorand, this is one of my worst performing holdings and assets that I hold for the long term. We have tons of imbalances above. On a variety of exchanges, we have gaps at 20 cents, 30 cents, even higher. We have some sell side imbalances and fair value gaps above. I just believe Algo survives and it does well during the bull run when this RSI actually climbs and we do get buy volume. It has been super weird because this asset has not even seen any type of retracement, it has just been in free fall. Meanwhile, there have been altcoins to come up to the R2, even R3. Now at the end of this year, the session ends and we're going to get some new Fibonacci pivots, so I'm curious to see where the P pivot and the R levels will be. And looking at Algo's all-time high market cap, that was $15 billion. Just to get back to $1, it would require an $8 billion market cap, or almost half of what it did in the past. Even with the increase in supply during this entire bear market, which didn't help at all, if Algo reached its previous all-time high market cap, it would be about $1.80. Some people think Algo's dead, but I do believe it's fully capable, even with its current circulating supply and max supply, to create an all-time high price in the future with utility. Even to get up to this R2 in the future, if you believe in Algo, that would be about a 17x return. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the previous video I uploaded yesterday discussing a Bitcoin all-time high price. So I'm not judging these projects by their price performance during a bear market where markets are dry. I want to judge a project when it actually gets ample volume and seeing how it performs during a bull run. If you judge Cardano during its bear market, it didn't break into a new high for over 1,100 days. And keep in mind, this thing crashed almost 98.5%. If you were judging it when it was down here in accumulation, even though there was good news, there was partnerships, there was new DeFi ecosystems, there were wallets, and everybody just complained and called Cardano a scam. And we know how that ended. This thing did over a 160x return. Even if you waited for confirmation to break and create a new level of support on the previous high and you were at 10 or 11 cents and it went to an all-time high price, we're still talking 27, 28x, and there is room to get that 5, 10x return. And yes, assets can do a 2, 3, 5x during a Bitcoin retracement, but the biggest moves for those 10x returns plus are during a Bitcoin all-time high price. Okay, let's run through some news. So first up, for on-demand liquidity that uses XRP. We can see Mr. B XRP sharing this. Now remember, this was the question for Joel Katz or David Schwartz on Twitter. Are ODL-related sales now considered securities? So back in July, he said, we're still figuring this out. We don't currently have ODL-related sales with a US nexus or a US connection point into the US market, and not being able to do so is a really huge deal. We can still do ODL in the United States so long as XRP is never sourced from Ripple. So from this comment, if they can source XRP from another provider for ODL to get into the United States, ODL can scale. So we got this big news a few days ago from Uphold. Ripple forges new partnership with Uphold to enhance underlying crypto liquidity infrastructure. We will be using our expertise in sourcing both fiat and crypto, XRP included, on the open market in order to facilitate the near instantaneous transfer of money across borders via Ripple ODL. So there's a lot of great speculation out there. We have Anders sharing this great post. Now this was an article back in 2022, but this is pointing out there are plenty of exchanges, and we can see Uphold platform has a unique model linked to 26 underlying exchanges. It smart routes orders to trading venues offering the best pricing and also provides superior liquidity. So in 2022, it's 26 underlying exchanges. Don't quote me, but I thought I saw a number somewhere around 30 or 33 today. So there are a lot of questions about this. This is not guaranteed, but even Anders asking the same question I'm asking. So would this be like partnering with 26 exchanges for ODL on-demand liquidity to use XRP at once? I absolutely love this post by Blockchain Backer, and he's been following this on Twitter for a very long time, and we can see the similarities compared to not the previous bull run, but the cycle back during the 2015 bear market, the climb into 2016, and the 2017 super cycle. And this is a beautiful chart showing the peaks and the breakout levels. Notice this 200 plus day range, very similar setup, and we did get the breakout that he was looking for as well. So super exciting, and this is why I've been saying all year, although I was wrong, I thought Bitcoin was going to at least 35 to 42K in the summer, I do believe this happens before halving. The reason being is because we've retraced to those same levels for 3 cycles in a row over the past 10 years. We have right here Casper on November 2nd, building more responsible AI systems, a webinar featuring Gartner, IBM, and Casper Labs. So we have the big shot here from IBM. I know you guys know him from the Hedera space as well, and we have Watson X. Now, IBM is a governing council member for Hedera, and they've done a lot of work with Hedera, but out of any other L1, Ethereum, AVAX, etc., Casper Network is the only L1 that IBM chose to use the deployment with IPW with one of the largest patent portfolios. So when this mint is finally deployed, and I'm hoping for a successful deployment because that will bring a lot more eyes and even attention for future partnerships, and it's an amazing real-world application. And we have to remember the patents that we're seeing minted are not some small companies. Patents are massive, and it's a huge portion of even the S&P 500 value. The patent market is massive. It's estimated to be 30% of that over $30 trillion in the S&P 500. And the patents that IPW has are for companies like Toshiba, Nike, and Koch Industries. We got Anthony Scaramucci retweeting, just talking about Casper Labs and IBM. Love or hate the guy, he is behind Skybridge Capital, a $3.5 billion fund that also backs Casper. A few other things related to Hedera and ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is a really big partnership. This came out a while back, and a lot of people don't realize how big this is. During a bear market, people complain, and yes, Hedera's circulating supply is a lot larger than other projects. But at the same time, Hedera's ecosystem is levels ahead of so many other projects. It is significantly larger and going after a massive use case. HBAR Foundation alone has invested over $400 million into this ecosystem. People can be bearish and think that HBAR goes sideways longer or the supply and blah blah blah, but at the same time, you think a project that has invested over hundreds of millions of dollars into the ecosystem disappears anytime soon. Even Aberdeen, the wealth manager with over $600 billion or 600 billion pounds assets under management, is tokenizing their funds, money market funds, initially on Hedera. So what is ServiceNow? This is a company that years ago was used by 80% of the Fortune 500. Today, it's used by 85%, so that's increased. They're working with Hedera with their Now platform, and you can find this blog directly on Hedera.com. So there are multi-billion-dollar companies that understand the importance of tokenization. They understand the value add of enterprise-grade DLT applications. Now, why is this taking so long? And that question was answered 2 videos ago, with Aberdeen, the fund manager, explaining that they've been around for nearly 200 years, and they've already been developing and working on this for 3 years. They have to move very slowly and carefully. So this is a high-level tweet I made just explaining the importance of digitalizing workflows via DLT. So they're discovering ways to make digital workflows in a trustless way. Hence the benefit of using Hedera, the public network, to guarantee certified, signed, and time-stamped interactions without the need for a trusted third party. We'll talk more about the Casper Labs IPW mint in the future. I'm tired of talking about it at this point. We've gotten dates from different employees during podcasts that I showed the timestamps so you can hear it for yourselves, and it's always been pushed back. This month we did videos of the CEO of IPW on LinkedIn just replying to comments about IPW and the patent deployment, saying yes, we're working with Casper. So although Casper Labs was ready, this is IPW's company, this is their patent portfolio, so Casper can't rush them. So now that IPW has finished the AI components for their SIAM or CM interface, it looks like they're ready to go. And last but not least, we have iTrustCapital linked in the top of this YouTube video description and in the pinned comment. I've had a crypto Roth IRA for tax-free trading and investing here since January of 2020. With 24/7 trading, we have about 30 different assets available, including XRP, Algo, HBAR, QNT, and more. Notice leveraging Fortress Trust and Fireblocks, 2 of the most legitimate crypto infrastructure providers in the space, so these assets are secured via cold storage. These assets aren't lent out, and they use a qualified custodian under the SEC. If you see the terms and you've watched the interviews of the CEO, if iTrustCapital goes under, which they're valued at over $1 billion, so I don't see that happening, especially with the crypto asset class climbing in the future, I still get my money. And my Roth IRA did great in 2021, but let's say that it does even better over this bull run or a coming bull run this decade, and I made insane wealth, and I say, you know what, I want to diversify. I can roll that over back to another custodian. I could go back to Vanguard and put it in the S&P 500 and play it safe. Not that I want to, but it's just important to know that you have that option. So be sure to check this out. This is linked in the top of my link tree as well. Talking about crypto developments, talking about future prices in a multi-year bear market like we've seen before is never popular. But I'll tell you one thing, I am always so freaking happy that I have exposure in crypto during a bull run. Hope you enjoyed this one. Huge thanks to all that hit the like button and share this around, and I will catch you in the next one.